City World Radio Network. High-definition digital radio broadcasting from the city to the world. www.cityworldradio.com.
Hi, everybody out there in the radio world today. It's 6 p.m. in New York City, and you're listening to Keep It Real with Jazzy Joy and Company, where everyone has a voice, all languages and colors, coming to you in high def. Can you hear me now? On the City World Radio Network. Peace.
Happy Monday out there. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the Jazzy Joy Keeping It Real show. With Jazzy Joy and Company Keeping It Real show here at City World Radio, coming at you live from Manhattan. So hope you've had a good weekend, and it's the beginning of a good week for you. Once again, thanks for tuning in. So I'm here at the studio with our girl. Well, I don't know if she wants me to call her girl, but our great engineer Jade, and coming at you live from North Carolina is T-Mac, my co-host and co-executive producer. T-Mac.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay. Make sure I'm coming across the airwaves here.
Now, I know last week we were talking about expectations, and this the topic this evening kind of follows expectations, because it has a lot to do with expectations, but basically it's going to be about marriage, right? We had some questions that we posed on Facebook, so we hope that you'll join us live here at City World Radio, 646-690-2976, because it's sure to be a very heated topic on marriage. I know T-Mac has his perspective on this.
Well, it's not going to be heated unless people disagree with me.
Well, I'm already saying I believe people will disagree. Well, really, I don't know. They might agree with you. I mean, some people might. But I know a lot of people might disagree, especially women. So, all right, let me see here. I think because we're supposed to... Hello? I don't know. We lost it. I think we... What happened? We lost you?
No, because somehow I'm trying to get to the actual phone thing and it won't go there. But that's all right.
Technical difficulties. Well, that's the name of the game. All right.
So I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, so you're back.
Deal with it the way it is.
All right. So, yes, we definitely would like you to join us out there. Your opinions matter, and we would like to hear your thoughts. So please feel free to call in at any time. And let's get this started. So, T-Mac, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I as I put up on the Facebook, we were talking about this thing about commitment last week, and I had given it some thought during the week, and I was, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was going through a problem in his marriage, right?
Right.
And he's been in the relationship with this young lady for at least 7-8 years, right?
Right.
And it was going really, really well until they decided to was it consummated, I guess, or validated, or whatever the term is,
By getting married.
By getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And what they both kind of failed to realize, a lot of expectations came along with that, right? Then the things that they were doing was I won't say it was no longer, but in addition to their emotional commitment, there was legal ramifications, there were religious ramifications, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that they did when they were just in a relationship, outside of the marriage construct, were now some of those things became problematic because of their implications in religion, and their implications in the so-called the so-called I guess I don't want to say religious, but the legal ramifications and how to facilitate that. So,
but are you saying that expectations change? I mean, because in any committed relationship, you go in there with the expectations, and I think that's the downfall of most relationships. But you're saying that expectations, everything works out fine, but when they get married, they have certain expectations.
Well, I think expectations. I think the expectations change because the construct changes, right?
Uh-huh.
The construct now is about has legal aspects to it, right?
Right.
It has a certain it's propelled by it's validated by a preacher or a justice
of the peace,
justice of the peace, or a legal entity, right?
Right.
So it's either the validation either comes from a religious perspective or a legal perspective.
So you believe this changes a person?
Well, I'm saying I'm looking at things that I've seen over the years,
mm-hmm.
and it seems to take the focus away from in a lot of situations. I'm gonna say this is across the board.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of marriages that are that are not defined by that there's a lot of unions where people are married that their union is not defined by the marriage, right? The union is defined by the level of commitment and the emotional connection they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that needs to be the fundamental bond of the relationship. Of a relationship is your emotional connection and your emotional commitment towards each other,
right.
whether you're married or not.
Yeah, but I think expectations change.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
whether you're married or not.
You think expectations change on what?
Well, I think people. Well, I think people don't expect it to change. That's what the problem is. They go in not expecting it to change because, of course, in the beginning of any relationship. But I know what you're saying because I know people that everything was fine. I mean, they were in long-term relationships and everything seemed to be okay. And as soon as they got that legal piece of paper, it just went down. And I just don't understand that.
And I think that's because many people, because of whatever religious influence they may be responding to, think that is a defining factor of their emotional connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like put a ring on it, right? Or you should have bagged it first, or whatever that expression is.
Well, the
right?
thing that with Lauren London, with Nipsey, hustle. Yeah, they said, oh, she should have secured the bag or whatever. That's the term that they use. And she didn't marry him. You know, she has a 2-year-old son, and they said, well, she should have secured the bag, and now he's gone. You know.
But what? I get it vaguely, but what? You know, it means that what? She should have got married.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
So that what? So that the son, her and the son can be taken care of.
That, and also she would have more say in a lot of business ventures, money matters, even funeral arrangements and everything. Because if the family doesn't allow you, you have no say if you're not legally married.
But but see that, and I think that's the misconception, because you can make legal arrangements. You could do wills or prenups,
if you
can do all that kind of stuff, and you don't the marriage does not take precedent over that.
But do you think he did that? No, he didn't do it. And and marriage does not take precedence. Oh, because even if you're still legally married to someone, you still have claim. There's certain laws because by the fact that you're legally married. So yeah, maybe if they wrote you in a will, you have some you have some recourse, but the one who is legally married will still have some say in the matter. I'm saying in a case where
and that has nothing to do. That whole reality has nothing to do with the level of emotional commitment between two people. That is all legal. That is all about money. That is all about control. That has nothing to do with how much I care for you and my emotional commitment to you. Sure, if you're committed to somebody emotionally, you want to see that that from both sides that they'll be okay, right?
But imagine you committed emotionally to someone, and you really, and let's say they died tragically, as in the Nipsey Hussle case, and you have absolutely no say over anything that happens. His family.
No, okay.
But if you were married to him,
that's what I'm saying. But that can be facilitated in a relationship, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a marriage. You could do that in a relationship to say, well, I give this person power of attorney, I give this person the right to do that, the right to do that, right?
Yeah, but in a lot of cases they don't do that.
The concept of marriage takes all that in, and then in the same time it validates. You have a preacher or justice of the peace telling you now you can kiss the bride. No, I can kiss the bride when I'm with them down. I don't need you to tell me when I can kiss the bride. Huh? I mean, like you saying, okay, now it's okay, right?
But
I've been kissing the bride, and I've been kissing her, and women probably did a few other things already, right?
Well, back in the day, it wasn't supposed to be so much of that going on, so that's why it's kind of funny.
And my whole theory about the whole nature of control in a society, right? Mm-hmm. That you have things that originate from a fundamentally religious foundation, and it evolves into a constant. It propels a construct based on that says the interaction between two people are evil. Unless they have it's sanctioned in the eyes of God. That's
right,
what it actually
in the eyes
says.
of the Lord, marriage, and now
it has to be facilitated that way, and so those people who subscribe to that, and I think in this society there needs to be parameters, there needs to be things, there needs to be a way of doing things to keep order in a society, but understand what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. The whole construct of marriage and is about prescribing a certain type of behavior, right? It's about prescribing a certain type of behavior that fits into the narrative of a orderly society. All right, you get married, you have 2.2 kids, you go to work, and you know all the things that all these tenets of things that hold a society together, and some of those tenets have its roots, has its roots in a religious orientation. Because of it has to be validated by a higher power. All right? My love for you is not love for you unless God says it's love for you.
But I don't know. I think it goes a little bit further than that too. I mean, from my perspective, I don't think it's only that. It's to protect you too. I mean, because if you invest a lot of time and energy and love and everything in a person, I mean, and then they could just walk away. A marriage makes it not that easy to walk away.
Right, and that's the legal aspect of it. But if you devote that, you're not devoting time and energy for a economic reward per se. You connect with somebody based on, I mean, I guess as love, as I understand what love is supposed to be about, right?
Mm-hmm.
About an emotional connection, right? Which may result in some financial or security kind of thing, but it's not about that. Right?
But see, maybe we're looking
it's
at.
It's not supposed to be about that.
But maybe you're looking at marriage and not in the way that it really is meant. Like, for example, you're looking at a marriage as an emotional connection. I don't look at marriage as that. I look at marriage as a contract.
I'm not looking at it like that. I'm not looking at it like that.
You're looking at a relationship.
You said I'm looking at marriage as an emotional connection.
No.
It's just the opposite. I'm looking at marriage as a non-emotional connection.
And that's exactly what it is.
I'm looking at a relationship as an emotional connection.
And the marriage is not meant to be an emotional connection, even though they make it seem like,
right,
because I'm in love with you and I want to be with you for the rest. A marriage is a contract, like a business. Contract. And that's what it is. Essentially, that's what it is.
Society, that is often used in this society to validate the emotional connection.
Well, yeah, they throw in the emotional connection, but it's not about that.
If you love me, you put a ring on it.
Yeah, but it's really not. But I mean, that's how.
Whether I put a ring on it or not, I love you. I love you.
That's how they present it, but that's not what it's all about. That's why there's a problem.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's not what it's about.
It's not about the emotional connection. It's a contract.
Yeah, but I mean, people, we have our indoctrination, and we have come to see it as the epitome of the emotional connection.
Yeah, and that's the downfall right there.
Yeah, and that's where we have problems because okay, I'm married now and I'm cool. No, you still got to do emotional work. It's still about the bond between the two people. The marriage is not the cure-all, fix-all.
Right.
I mean, but if you listen to people and you see all the stuff that goes on and getting the dresses and the wedding rings and the all the pomp and circumstance around this whole construct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then what? I mean, what? Okay, so now I'm with you. Yesterday we weren't married, and we were chilling and having fun and enjoying ourselves. Now I'm with you tomorrow after we got married today, and what is the difference?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out. What makes them? I mean, what makes the marriage fail? I mean, if you supposedly were doing okay when you were not married, but cohabitating but not married, and then as soon as you got that piece of paper, what happened? Do you have any ideas on that? I mean, like, what happens?
Well, I think the piece of paper comes with a whole new set of expectations.
Of expectations, yeah.
Now you're doing this because you're supposed to, not because you want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you may be doing it because you want to, but the paper tells you that
now you have to do it.
The inference of having the paper is that you have to do this now. This is what you This is what you got to do. Okay, if I would say I'm in a relationship and I stayed out overnight, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might have some flack about staying out overnight. Why you stay overnight? We agree not to do that in a relationship. Once I get married and I stay out overnight, you stay out overnight. You're bad because you're married now. You can't do that anymore. You're married now.
But even if you're in a committed relationship, you can't do that.
No, you can do that, but the ramifications are different. Right? If you do it in a committed relationship,
really can't. I don't see the ramifications are different.
Well, if you listen, you will.
On an emotional level, whether you're married or not.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. But in addition, the emotional level is no longer the expectations are from an emotional level. Yeah, they're there. You're supposed to, there's things that you do because you care. Well, but when you get married, it's those same things that you do, or because you care or don't care, are now reinforced or enforced by the marriage contract. Okay, well, you can't do this now. Okay, I can take legal action against you because you didn't do what you said that you were going to do emotionally. Huh?
Well, you really can't take legal action.
Now I have a legal recourse.
Well, I mean, not really, other than divorce, and then you have a good reason for divorce
and forfeiture of some of your financial resources, or in fact, even potential jailing.
But I mean, so are you saying that people shouldn't have a recourse? I mean, because what if you're in a long-term committed relationship and the person does that, and then you have absolutely no recourse? So I think that's better.
Yeah, you have a recourse. You could say, okay, well, I can no longer deal with this relationship. This is not working for me, and then you agree to go separate ways
and just walk away with nothing. But what if you tied in financially?
Did you enter into the emotional relationship for a financial gain?
But that's a factor. That's a factor in the marriage.
No, that's how it's propelled in the society. Some people have their own. She has his own. He has their own, and they manage to have a good relationship. And they,
but what if you have ties? You say, yeah, some people do, but what in situations where you tied up with somebody else and financially too, and you can't just walk away? Right, but that's you don't want to talk about that.
That's an economic reality, and that's about certain choices.
That's a reality.
That's about certain choices that you decided to make in the relationship. That's not about a legal.
It's not
or a moral.
legal, but you're tied.
That's not about
into,
a legal.
Okay,
that's not about a legal or a moral.
But it is legal because if you're legally tied to that person, whether you're married or not, you can't just walk away.
No, but you're not legally tied to the person. You might be legally tied to property, and you say, well, but you still have the option of walking away and saying, well, later for the property, right? You have that option, or you can come to an agreement and say, well, we'll terminate the relationship and split the property, all right?
Well, you can do that in a marriage too.
But marriage makes that happen.
Yeah, but who's going to just walk? If you're financially tied up with someone, you mean to tell me that I would like to see someone just walk away from it? That's it.
I'm saying no. A lot of times you don't, but that's about your security and it's about your, you know,
So you
what
say,
your
oh,
options
but
are.
you can, but you're not going to anyway.
No, I'm saying you can, and you, but
you
it's,
won't.
you're not. But no, but you're not compelled to by law. You're not compelled to stay by law or compelled to do anything by law. It's about
that's true.
about what.
Yeah,
it's
but
about
if you're
you.
legally
It's
tied
about
up
it-
with
it's
someone,
about-
whether you're married or not, if you're in a legally binding kind of situation with someone,
Yeah, but you're not. But
legally.
you're not in a legal. But you're not in a legally binding relationship. You might be in an economically
But what's the
binding
difference?
situation. That's
What's
not
the
legal.
difference?
That's economic.
But what's
It's a
the
difference.
difference? There's no difference.
The difference is like there is no legal ramifications for it.
There are legal
Right?
ramifications.
No, there's
That's
not.
what
If you
there is.
if you decide to walk
I
away,
wish I would have a lawyer.
if you decide to leave, you can leave. If you decide to leave, you can leave. If it was your marriage, you decide to leave, then the laws come after you.
Okay, well, I mean, if you choose to lose what you
Yeah, right, but that's a choice.
Yeah.
You have that option. In a marriage, you don't have that option.
Right.
It's the option is.
But
you
a
know,
lot
that
what
option
a
is taken
lot of
away.
people don't realize
Yeah,
there
but
is
the option
something
is taken
called
away as a result of the
there is
contract.
something called
contract.
common law marriage, and you have basically almost the same kind of claim as if you were married under common law.
Because you enter into a legal contract. A common law marriage is a contractual agreement, a legal contractual
No, it's
agreement
not.
that is not
No,
that's
it's
not a marriage.
It's recognized by law. If you're with a person,
So if it's
you
recognized
could
by law, does that make it legal?
But I'm saying
What
you
are you
didn't.
saying?
I'm saying
You
you
saying
didn't
it's
make.
recognized by law.
But I'm saying, but
which
you
makes it
didn't.
legal.
But you didn't go and make it legal. It's just automatically legal because of the amount, the number of years. Yes, it is. There's such a thing on the books.
Well, it depends. It depends on you. It depends on where you live. Because in North Carolina, no, they don't recognize common law marriage.
Well, in a lot of places they do. So you're gonna have to check
In
that
a
out.
lot of places they do. The places that they do, you understand that by staying a certain period of time, you enter into the realm of the legal ramifications.
I believe it's 7 years or more, and you can prove that you've
I
been
don't know.
living together.
I don't know.
You've been. I know a little bit about law, so you've been together about 7 years or more, and you can prove that you've been living together is under common law. But as you said, it might not be recognized by every state.
And that you have been pooling your resources.
Yeah, and so. But it might not necessarily
and that's to my point. That all that stuff, seems to supersede the emotional connection. That's all I'm saying. All the legalities and all this about having, what you have and what you don't have.
But I think you place too much emphasis on emotional. Not everything has to do with emotion.
That's theoretically what a union between two people is about.
It's a contract. A union is a contract. And I look at it like a legal, like a contract, like a business contract.
But that's a union between two people?
Yes.
No, what you're talking about is
if you want to cohabitate and live with each other, then you're in a legal contract, in my opinion.
Oh, but not in your opinion, but not in the eyes of the law.
Well, if it's 7 years or more, there's common law. I'm going to check on how many states recognize common law, but yeah.
I mean, that again, that's akin to marriage, but marriage is, I think, is one step above that in terms of the legalities. Your options are even less. You have even less options in a marriage. It's either this or that, because the marriage then becomes the defining factor of your relationship.
But I don't believe
how that relationship. But how that relationship proceeds.
unlike you, I don't believe that it's marriage that's the cause of the breakdown in marriages. I believe it all goes back to what we were talking about last week. I think it's expectation.
No, expectations. Marriage fuels expectations.
Because a lot of people expect their spouse to fulfill their every need. You understand?
Right.
And that's a problem. Whether whether
That's
you're married or not,
a problem.
your partner.
But even sometimes in relationships, that as they're defined, like you're the cure all, the end all, cure all for everything.
And that's the breakdown of a lot of marriages and relationships, because that's what it is, and you expect that your partner to serve as the primary source of your happiness. A lot of people are looking towards somebody else to make them happy.
And then it becomes a possessive, right? Mm-hmm. You're my husband, my wife, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to a woman or a man that I'm married to, or a woman or a man that I'm in a relationship with. It's my, right?
But this doesn't have to be married.
That whole my concept, puts a whole different spin on it. Like, you're my property, you belong to me. How can you?
But you ever heard people say, "This is my man," even though they're not married?
I'm talking about my man. I'm talking about in relationships or marriages. Okay. The my thing. How can you do that? You're my man, right?
And a lot of times,
how can you look at? You're my man. You're not supposed to look at another woman. Or you're my woman. You're not supposed to look at another man. So when I just close my eyes, on one path.
And expecting that your partner is going to meet all your companionship needs. They cannot.
No.
You need different people can. So I think that's a problem.
But you know what? We are our basic indoctrination, right? Mm-hmm. Sets us up emotionally to expect that. And this culture,
right?
Because in other cultures that may not be the case. There are cultures that we define, or that this country defines, or this societal structure defines as polygamy, right?
Right.
Which has a negative connotation to it, right? Mm-hmm. But in those cultures, it's not about one person fulfilling all your emotional needs for men. Let me be clear. I say that for men, because I don't want to. I'm not gonna battle with you about that. So for men.
And this is something that I think I might be guilty of. You will always expect to be the center of attention to your partner. And you have to realize you can't always be the center of attention, but you expect that. And probably even more when you're married.
We're told from the time that we jump out the womb, right? That we're conditioned to feel that way, right? In this culture, right? That you're supposed to be your mate is supposed to satisfy all your needs. We see it in our religious institutions. We see it in schools. We see it in movies. We see it in all the kinds of things that facilitate our perspectives, right?
Right.
That this is how it's supposed to be. So we develop emotionally around those expectations.
And
mm-hmm. What is the problem? What actually is the actual problem? If I'm in a relationship with you, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't say I don't play pool, right? Or I don't swim, or I don't do something.
Right.
But you have a male friend that does that, right? And you all enjoy doing that together, right?
Right.
So you go out with him to do that, right? And you have another one that maybe cooks, or you like cooking, and you go out with him to do that. Why should I feel insecure? And I probably would, right? Because I'm a product of this conditioning.
Right.
Emotionally I would. Intellectually I try to rationalize it, but I know emotionally I would have to say, what they doing, right?
Well, I think because things can happen, because I think we know that things can happen and things can lead to something else very easily.
And what happens? And what does that mean if they do? I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying, what does that mean if they do?
What does it mean? a person doesn't want that to happen.
Does that mean that that you know you don't you don't have, if you find someone else sexually attractive for a moment or for a period of time, does that mean you have less love for me?
Yeah, but for a moment, but it could
or
blossom
if you
into
find
something
someone,
much
okay,
more.
well, if you find someone sexually attractive, it's a sexual attraction, right?
But what if it's more than that?
What does that mean to me? For me, in terms of the depth of our relationship, that's
right.
emotional.
If it's just a sexual attraction,
because we cannot. It's hard for us in this society to separate sexual from emotional.
But then somebody might think, well, wow, I really enjoy, like, let's say, playing pool with you, and then you think that's what you want, and then too bad he doesn't like to do that, and then it can lead to other things, and I think
anything could lead to something else.
That's true.
Going to work with somebody every day could lead to
exactly. So everything can lead. But you have a better chance if you have that connection with someone.
You have a better chance if you isolate your mate.
Yeah. Yeah, like doing things, excluding, I think you have a better chance of that happening. And I think one of the major, I don't know, what do you think about this? I think one of the major problems in relationships is expecting the excitement and passion to continue as it was earlier in your relationship. I think that's one of the main problems. You in the beginning, everything is beautiful, everything is and rosy.
Because you don't see the raw. A lot of times you don't see the rawness. You don't see the person in their raw form. They always see the best foot, and that's what I think that people have to work. That's what they call working on relationships. You have to. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. Keep that newness. That's work. That takes work.
Right.
You have to do things. You have to be willing to be open to experimentation, to change, to things that you have to be able to communicate about stuff and talk and work things out. You can't. You just can't just say, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. All right.
But because the early attraction, when the relationship is new, and of course each person is at their best, and it's a beautiful time. But that's not going to last.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to continue to be at your best. You're going to start seeing things.
I don't know about your best. You're not going to continue to be. To have a facade up.
Right, because you're going to try to do that
real.
in the beginning.
You go in the bathroom and stink the bathroom up. You go and
be like, oh Lord, I didn't bargain for this.
A woman take her wig off and a push-up bra off. A man take off his drawers, his belly hang down. All that stuff that you don't see.
It's like, wait a minute, I didn't, I didn't know about all of this.
That's why the relationship has to be propelled by something much deeper than just that, right? It can't be. You gotta work on it. You gotta be able to try to meet each other halfway. Well, I want to swing through the chandeliers, and well, let me see how that might be, all right? Oh, I'm not saying I'm gonna swing from the chandeliers every day, but maybe I'll try it today, all right? And then you have to understand that on spectrum.
Well, I want to see that.
I know, but I'm saying that's extreme. That's an extreme example, but I'm saying that exemplifies the kind of things that I'm talking about in terms of.
I'm trying to picture that.
Trying to work stuff out. I mean, or at least talk about it. Huh? Yeah, some people can't even talk about sex. They can't even talk about it. Huh? It's like, oh no, I don't want to do that. But I'm not even talk about it. And then you don't even know how to approach them and have a discussion about, well, because they say about, or they so immersed in a religious, or religious, moral, what they consider moralistic. Oh no, no.
I
And
just
you
want
might,
to take this time, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Jazzy Joy, Keeping It Real, Jazzy Joy and Company, Keeping It Real show here, coming at you live at City Radio, City World Radio. And again, we would like you to join in the conversation, 646-690-2976, 646-690-2976. We'd like to hear your opinion on this and what you might think is the downfall once people sign that paper and it becomes
and not only
legal.
that, I would like to hear some proponents of marriage maybe call in and and state your case. All right.
Right.
I'm primarily coming from a point of view that I'm not saying my point of view is absolutely correct, but I'm saying that's my point of view. And I have instances of and experiences that have propelled that point of view in my reality. But you may have something else in your reality that points of that propels a whole different point of view. And
I'm just
like
trying to figure out, because like I said, I've heard of many cases where people have been together 10, 15, even 20 years, just cohabitated and not legally married. And as soon as they got that piece of paper, I just want to know. I mean, I don't understand what happens. Maybe somebody can tell us, explain, because what really happens, why that piece of paper damages the relationship.
Why that seems to be a consistent thread that runs through a lot of situations.
Do you think people's expectations change? They become more demanding? I mean, I don't know what it is.
Right. I mean, and I think the marriages that are successful are people who don't subscribe to those expectations.
And
right?
I know from a personal...
They look at marriage as a ritual, right? And not necessarily a validation, but a ritual, and something that's a testimonial to their commitment, right? Not the essence of their commitment, but something that's a testimonial. Okay, we got married because if we didn't, we'd still be together, right? But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do this because it's a testimonial to my love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, and from that vantage point, I could see it, right? But I'm saying, generally speaking, there's this whole thing about it's not, especially amongst young newlyweds and the young newlyweds. Now, okay, now we're married, so we're good, all right? People who have been together a long time, and their commitment is based on their emotional connection, and then at some point they say, well, okay, well, they agree that we want to add that component, but that doesn't define our love for each other. That just is a testimony to this love, right?
But I think you ought to I don't want to get personal, but
no, you don't get personal.
But I think you ought to analyze why. I think it's a deeper reason why you probably were not really fond of marriage.
Well, I did it once, right? And it was, I just felt that I lost my identity, right?
Mm.
I felt that, and I felt that for me to subscribe to some of those expectations, I really wasn't there, right?
But what kind of expectations? I mean, what changed?
Well, it changed because now, okay, for instance, in the situation, we lived in two different places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had an apartment, she had an apartment, and the apartment was like a studio apartment kind of thing, right?
Right.
A small one bedroom in a public housing development, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my apartment was more, it wasn't a big apartment, but it wasn't in a public housing development. It was still limited in space. It was one bedroom and a living room almost a walkthrough, right? A walk up, walkthrough, right?
Right.
So, but the individual said, "Well, I don't want a long courtship. I want to get married. I don't want a long courtship." And I was coming out of something. I felt a little very insecure and very, but I care for the person. I'm not denying that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so I agreed to get married. Boom. Even though I was feeling had a lot of trepidation about it, right? I said, I'm gonna do it, right? And then we agreed that okay, we would save some money and try to get a bigger apartment, right? The minute we got married, right, then it was expected of me to leave my apartment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And move into that one bedroom apartment in the housing development, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, that's not what I want to do, right? And I know sometimes I get a little selfish about me, what I want,
But what is
right?
wrong with one bedroom? Does she have children?
Because, yes, she had a daughter,
Well,
right?
You got to say, because what would be wrong with two people in a one-bedroom apartment?
No, with the bedroom, the one bedroom was given to the daughter, and we slept in there.
So that was the problem.
Right?
Okay.
And then, like on Saturdays and stuff, like maybe her friends would come over and they had kids, and they, so now I got to get up and put the high rise up, and the kids will go in the bedroom with and I'm just sitting where I have no space to me, right? There was no, I'm saying, no,
Right.
why I got to do that? Because I'm married.
Because when you're legally married, you're expected to live together. You're not expected to live apart. When you're not legally married, then you live wherever you. I mean, that's the way it is.
Why?
Well, then why couldn't she move in with him?
Well, did you want her to move in with you?
Yeah, because
or you just wanted to keep your place.
She didn't want to move in. She didn't want to change.
Yeah, because public housing is different.
Yeah, and she didn't want to take the kids out of the school, her daughter out of the school. She didn't want to do that.
Right.
So
there would be reasons why you wouldn't move.
It would have effectively been the same thing almost, huh?
But so it wouldn't have mattered either way. Even if they lived there, it still would have been an uncomfortable.
It would have effectively been. What we should have done is waited until we had the money to
move into the suitable place. Yeah.
Right. But she didn't want to do that. Because she didn't want a long courtship. She wanted to get married. She wanted my husband. She said, I want a husband.
Was she religious?
Not really. No.
Okay.
No, not really. I mean, she believed
because some religious people don't believe in shacking up, as they say. I don't even know if they use that term anymore. I don't know. Let me ask, is there a new term, living together?
We weren't living together. We weren't shacking.
Because we used to call it 100 years ago shacking up together. I don't know.
I heard that term. I heard that term all my life, almost.
Yeah, but I don't know if they use that now. I'm dating myself.
Know what it means. I'm sure people know what it means, shacking up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, so you were together in the shack, came back from together in the shack.
I guess you didn't want to, I don't know when, I understand. When you get married, it changes.
It was just too much for me, right? It was just too much. I couldn't navigate that, right? I mean, emotionally, and I felt that and like I said, it could be a part of my selfish stuff too. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want, huh?
Yeah, because you didn't really want to get married. That's why I said you need to analyze.
I really didn't. But I said, because this is what you do. This is what you do.
Right.
And we were fine, right? And it all fell apart once we got married. We stayed married for about a year.
Wow.
And we separated. And we went on like maybe 8 or 9 years before we got actually divorced.
But you were separated.
But we separated, we were separated.
After a year.
After about a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we were living in two different places, and it was just like, I wasn't going to, what am I supposed to do? I'm not coming there. I'm not doing that. I tried it. I'm not doing it.
I don't know. I think something, expectations do change, and they feel
Yeah,
you don't have the
expectation was that I
same
was-
liberties. Like, okay, if we're not married, then I really have no say in what you do. But now that we're married, now you can't do
I
like,
expect you to do that. And another situation is if you married and you live in a you have a spacious place. What is wrong with couples having their own bedrooms? Husband and wife having. Why do you have to sleep in the same bedroom?
Well, I'm a firm believer that a man and a woman should have their own bedroom.
When people say master, you're supposed to sleep in the same bedroom.
No.
God,
I gotta have my own room. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we come visit me. I come visit you. We do other things together. But why have to sleep in your bed every day, and you have to sleep in mine every day?
Because men and women are so different, and not even just men and women. People are just different, and couples are different, and you need your own space. And then you come together when you're ready to come together. But you do need your own space because people have their own idiosyncrasies.
Exactly.
I remember, like, this man was married, and, his wife wanted the bedroom to be all frilly with lace, and, and he's a man. He didn't want to be in a bedroom full of, feminine, frilly lace, and stuff.
And I want to throw my shoes down, my sneakers, my drawers fall off, and I don't stay there where they at for a minute.
I think you have a better relationship if you have that separate.
Sinbad has a thing about relationships. He said, women, somebody said men are messy, right? He said, messy? Why is it messy? He said, I get up, I take my shirt off and drop it on the floor. He said, because I'm gonna wear it tomorrow. I know where it is, right? And if you don't, if you see it, you walk over it, just step over it. Keep going, right? But I mean, it was funny. It was a humorous. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you. But that, it was Sinbad. I love Sinbad's perspective, right? But he was talking about marriage, and it was.
It was really funny. The stuff that you have to deal with, and if you realize that that's the way it is, and you can deal with it better. I mean, because.
But that's not necessarily marriage. That's cohabitation as well.
Cohabit. But
marriage just takes it a step further because you can cohabitate and say, "Well, I'm gonna sleep in my own room," right? When you get married, you're supposed to, and people are fiercely, dedicated to that. Now that we married, we have to sleep in the same room. Now that we married, we got to do this together. We got to do that together. We can do everything together. We husband and wives. As they say down here in the Bible Belt, we husband and wives.
Right, absolutely.
So I mean, we lose our individual identity, and just for the sake of our union. I mean, I think people get along much better if they maintain their individuality and still come together when they come together. They do things together and and they live together and they cook and they eat. They can do things together, but they still are who they are. They don't. I don't know.
Well, I think we're gonna have to.
Maybe I have to, like you say, I need to look at some of maybe my issues around.
Yeah, you have issues. I'm
gonna
say it out straight. You definitely, and maybe you, should look into what they are. But we're definitely gonna have to continue this conversation because, and maybe at a later time we might have some people can join in on it. But definitely.
We need to invite some people to the studio to come in and talk about this.
Exactly. We will do that because this is worth continuing, and we certainly will do that. But for this evening,
I heard Jade ask the question. I was wondering what was her perspective about, right? From her vantage point.
Right. Right. We might get her into it next time.
We're gonna drag her into this.
Exactly. So on that note, we're going to have to say peace out to everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Jazzy Joy Keeping It Real show. And until next time, peace.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma,
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Yo, what's going on? Y'all listening to Sky's Crescent Radio, and here's what's coming up. On the first Sunday of the month, we have the Poet Podcast with Dale Novella. On the second Sunday of the month, we have the Soul Tree Spotlight with Earlene Stephen. And we also have Keeping It Funky with Troy Weeks. On the third Sunday of the month, we have Boozy News with Supreme Bars. And on the fourth Sunday of the month, we have What's Really Good with Jeanette Berry and Clout Dealers with The Label Noir. And every Sunday at 7, we have Can We Not with Evan Combis. Peace.
It's hard to miss a day of work, but it's easy to spread influenza. Stay home if you get sick. It's the flu season. For more information on symptoms and treatment, visit mdhflu.com. Sponsored by the Minnesota Department of Health, aired by the Minnesota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle, none are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge.